I want to wish my mom a happy 97th birthday, even though she isn't here with us today. She passed away on August 3rd on a Monday, 2015, and today is Sunday, April 30th, 2017. And she was born in Dublin, Ireland on a Friday on April 30th, 1920. And she's traveled from England, and actually she was there in during the World War II, the entire time. I think she was 19 when she went there, and when she came to the States via Canada, she flew from there. Her brother Robert got her an airline ticket in 1949. And then she met my dad in Detroit, Michigan, and they married in 1952. And then they both retired at their cottage and made the cottage into a home in 1975. Um, they had the cottage for quite a while in the 1960s. So when dad passed away in 1990, mom was left there all by herself. Um, and I was living with her at the time. Uh, and they took me in when I left Florida in Clearwater. I lived there in the early 1980s, and I came back to Detroit and found an apartment. And which brings me to a topic about suitcases. I had this red suitcase that I bought out of my own money as a teenager back in 1973. I traveled to Las Vegas, Nevada, on a vacation for a week. And when I came back from Florida in 1983 and moved into my apartment, I was only there a short time. And I threw my suitcase out and I put everything in it that was really important papers and photographs and important items. I put it in the dumpster of the apartment building in Detroit because I thought, well, maybe I'm going to end up going nowhere. And instead of having them memories, I put it in my suitcase and put them in the dumpster. So um, maybe I was just trying to find another life different than I had before, or maybe I didn't think I was going to be around that much longer. But when I moved back with my parents in 1994, or not 1994, but 1984, they were living in Canada. So they took me back in my 30s, and I want to thank both of them, even though both dad died in 1990 on October 31st. Um, without my parents, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I want to thank them posthumously and wish my mom a happy birthday because thinking about my life had an effect on them. I think everybody has an effect on somebody, and mostly your parents. So I just pray that we have um, an understanding of between family that family is important to have and friends are important to have. And even though mom was 95 years old, a lot of her friends had passed on, and uh, and some of the friends that she had moved on, and we just never know how long we can stay in contact with someone. um, and sometimes we don't want to stay in contact with them, or we want to move somewhere else and start over like I did when I moved back to Michigan from Florida. So and then I didn't know I was going to end up living in Canada for about 10 years. So like I said, without mom and dad, none of this would be possible to where I'm living now in Port Huron since 1994, and in my apartment since 1995. And I just pray that my family, my immediate family, my sister Debbie and her two daughters and their children, and my brother um, uh, remembers the good times. And I know there's bad times, but we've gotten this far, and Doug's mom died when he was about 9 years old after Dad came back from World War II in Alaska for 4 years. Dad enlisted in 1941 um, after Pearl Harbor, and he went to Alaska and came, and when the war was over in 1945, and then Mom was in England in London during the whole time. She went there when she was, I think, 19, so she was there in England the whole time World War II was happening. And then when her brother Robert got her a ticket to fly to the States to make a fresh start, with she probably had a suitcase too, like I did, and with like a lot of her memories in it. And she landed, I think it was in Canada, and she stayed with relatives there in Windsor. So when she came across the border at the Ambassador Bridge or the tunnel, I don't know when the tunnel was built there, but she came across to Detroit and met my dad in 1952. They married, and they lived there until they retired. Dad returned to Canada, where he was born, not in Galt or Cambridge, it's called now, but he returned to Canada. Uh, and they both he retired, and they lived at made their cottage into a home at Ipperwash Beach, and the rest is history, because it's not really history because it's still there, it's still standing, and it's on Lake Huron, and many wonderful times as a kid growing up there. We got it in the 1960s, and for a factory worker to have a cottage and a home too in Detroit, that's pretty amazing. I mean, with the hard work he put into factory work in an auto Chrysler for 40 years when he retired. So Mom was a housewife, but she did work before she married my dad, and but the years that she spent in England, and she was born in Dublin, Ireland, um, and she had a hard life too, I imagine, just like my dad. I think any that generation had a hard life in the States or in Europe or wherever, but because of the World War II. Um, but now they have grandchildren, 5 of them, and that is Avalon, Lachlan, Quinn, uh, William, and Clara. So in the my and they're that's their great grandchildren, um, and they have two beautiful granddaughters, Tara and Tori, and my sister. They take after my sister in looks. They're both beautiful, and my brother has no children, um, and that's the way he planned on it, because he is um, a gay, and I didn't know that until it was in my 30s. I mean, my parents kept that from me. I didn't know. My sister said, "Well, I'm surprised you didn't know." I says, "Well, how come you didn't say anything about it?" I didn't know either. So, and I'm 63 now, but my brother, his mom died when like I said, she was, if I didn't say it already, she was pretty young when she died, when Dad came back from the war, and Doug was 9 years old, and he missed my dad for about 4 years when Dad was enlisted, because my brother was born in 1936, and my sister was born in 1957, and I was born in 1954. And Dad was born on um, April 11th, 1915, and Mom was born in April 30th, 1920. So happy birthday, Mom, and thanks for the memories. Like Bob Hope said, thanks for the memories. And I love you. And everybody misses you. Oh, I guess it's still running. I was just trying to turn it off. Hmm. Okay. Bye for now. Oh, and that's Kettle Point behind me. I just got that 4x6 print made up into a 16 by 20 and put it in the frame. and it was taken on Wednesday, November 5th, 2008. I was with my mom when I took that photo. Kettle Point, and that's Lake Huron in Ontario, Canada.